Welcome back to the Mental Lab, guys. I hope you are having an amazing day. You are listening to your hostess with the leastest, right? We got that last episode. Your favorite podcast host, Charming. It's good to be episoding. It's good to be episoding another recording. But I'm back with another episode for y'all. Once again, it's going to be kind of like another follow-up on one of the topics from last episode, which I'm pretty sure I'll probably just continue like leaking these episodes, and that way it kind of gives an opportunity to elaborate on things fully that I wasn't necessarily able to in the last episode when I was episoding, not recording, right? But it also kind of just gives a little bit more continuity throughout the season, which I think is a lot better. It's a lot easier, much better way to kind of create some more topics for you guys, even though it's not difficult at all. There's a lot. There's a lot with me. So anyway, today's topic is going to be on codependence, which, Lord, that's like a whole seasonal topic itself. So I'm just saying, if I need to make another episode about it, I will. But I think I'm going to cover a good bit of it in this episode, just because I'm going to keep it. I'm going to say short and trimmed down, but I'm going to keep it limited to kind of my experience with it, kind of what codependence is. It's a large topic, so it's going to be hard to kind of just basically straight up define it. Look, again, words don't. But I'm going to talk about some of the things and some of the patterns that I have in my codependency and some of the situations I come up in life, and give some examples, and also talk about some of the different ways that I am trying to recover it. And trust me, if you don't learn something, look, I'm not a teacher. I'm not here to teach you these things, but a lot of people don't know what codependence is. And before I heard the word, I didn't know what it was. So definitely after hearing about it and seeing what it was, I know a lot more about it now, and I'm able to like identify it in my life. So hopefully, like I said, you will learn a little bit of something from today's episode that'll help you out. But before we get into that, as always, here's a brief message from our podcast sponsor. Hey guys, really quickly, I want to break away from today's episode to kind of talk to you a little bit about our newest partnership and sponsor of today's video, which is Sandy's Bakes. Sandy is a local business owner, Black-owned business owner as well, who makes amazing, absolute amazing treats and desserts and things of all sorts, so from cupcakes to cakes to kick pops, candy apples, and all different types of things, and offer amazing, great prices too. And they look amazing, they're beautiful. Just look at these amazing cupcakes and this beautiful mental health cake. She takes your orders and will take them above and beyond, make them absolutely beautiful for you. Currently, right now, she is making products for Beaufort and surrounding areas, but if we can get enough, we could probably get her to start shipping across the country pretty soon here. But her company just finally started, it just kicked off, and I could not thank her more for helping sponsor our actual podcast and giving back to the community, and also just being a huge supporter for us all together. And I really wanted to do and give the same back to her. So thank you, Sandy Bakes, for sponsoring today's video. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, and all of those in between, and all of those not on either side. Now that we're back, a quick trigger warning. So some of the topics we discuss in this podcast can be emotionally triggering to some. If you are triggered at any point in time, I just want to ask that you find the nearest payphone, take a photo of it, sell the photo for $5,000 on the internet. You can just type in vintage XXX category, and people will pay money for pictures of old, out-of-date inventions. So go do that, make you some money. Afterwards, please make your way to the website, officialmentallab.com/resources, boom, for a massive directory of resources, which I'll be adding some more resource owners soon, so you can probably expect over like 100 resources to assist you and your loved ones, right? So moving on, I'm doing well today. I got some good sleep last night. I'm feeling pretty good today. I got a good, nice little haircut. I look all right. I mean, I'm still itching because I need to shower after like getting my haircut, but whatever. So I mean, it's good that I got out and got my haircut because I don't think I actually had my haircut in like 2 weeks, which is a bit longer for me. But yeah. But I mean, I'm doing fine. Like again, I would say I'm green. I'm thumbs up. Like I'm okay today. I'm feeling I'm still feeling really motivated. There's still some habits I want to work on adding to my like routine, but like I told you guys last episode or the episode before that, I started working with this app Journey, and Journey sponsor, please. Yes, listen, sponsor. I'll reach out, you reach out, whatever. But like I said, it's an app that kind of just helps you build good habits, and it's good. And like I said, it goes just as slow or quickly as you would like. I mean, they'll limit you and they'll hold you back so that way, they progress you in steps and you don't rush and screw yourself over, right? But the next step for me is to start going to the gym. And in like that lesson, I don't want to say lesson, but in that task, whatever, one of the things is to attach it to something else that you do, so that way you're consistently doing it. And so I love going to the gym. Like the gym is my life. It's just, if I'm in the house, I'm not leaving the house. So I have to attach it to something that I do during the day. But during the day when I'm out, I'm so busy. I'm running from here to there to back, and all these different things. So by the time like the day, like all the events and the appointments, all that stuff is done, I'm just exhausted and I don't want to do anything. But like that's that time where I need to attach it to something. Like if I wake up earlier and go to the gym and then do other stuff, I could do that. Like I can just shower at the gym, or I could go and do all my appointments or whatnot and go to the gym right afterwards instead of coming home. And you know how hard it is for me to drive by my house at the end of a long day to go to the gym? Like it'd be a different story if I like had appointments on the other side of town where I had to pass the gym to come home. Like then I'd feel bad, But now I don't necessarily feel bad for passing my house. I feel like I'll just go to the crib. I'll go tomorrow, right? But like somebody said before, tomorrow doesn't exist. So, which quote of the episode, because I don't have a quote for today because of something else, but quote of the episode, tomorrow doesn't exist. Matter of fact, that's going on a shirt and a coffee mug. Tomorrow don't exist. But yeah, but like I said, I mean, I'm feeling all right. I'm really going to work on attaching, like going to the gym to something, even if it's, after I film the episode, then go to the gym, or beforehand, or like I do my daily, bad thing with, my bad habits that I already have. It would be, I don't want to attach it to I don't want to attach it to a bad habit because, okay, so I actively daily engage in certain bad habits. Right. And obviously, like we've talked about these habits, but like a lot of my bad habits. So what I don't want to do is attach it to one of those bad habits that I do every day. Like, yeah, it will be, what's the word? I don't know the word, but it would be good to go to the gym daily, like, cause I do that daily, but, I don't want to attach to that because once I finally do get over that bad habit, then I need to try and find something else to attach going to the gym to. You know what I'm saying? So that's just a little rough. That just gets a little bit hard. So I'll figure it out. I'll work on something. I'll do it. Also, I've been kind of slacking in my breakfast. I think I missed breakfast yesterday. Yeah. Some of the breakfast like tasks and ideas that they have on there is just to, when you wake up, drink a bottle of water and eat like a healthy breakfast, just kind of get you some energy. And they gave me some options like, bananas, a handful of nuts, an apple with like peanut butter, oatmeal, eggs, like those kind of things, which I was doing a good job at. I don't eat much. We all know this. And it's not that it's difficult to like just eat, because it's not difficult to eat. No, it is. It is. It's hard. It's a lot harder. Like I have to consciously make an effort to walk to the, to the to the closet, to the cabinet, cupboard, whatever it is, grab an apple out of the bag, twist the stem off, bite into it, chew it, and make my way all around the apple. Like that's a lot of commitment. And the last episode I filmed, I filmed yesterday, or I recorded yesterday, and I did have an apple. That's what I can do. So if I record, I can make sure I attach eating like something prior to, because that will make me feel better. Like I can come into the episode feeling accomplished. Today I did eat an apple. I didn't eat the whole apple, but that was a lot. My stomach was hurting. That's another thing I'm going to talk about too. I'll probably divulge into that in one of the vlogs actually. But like a lot of times people, I think, associate my eating disorder with the fact that like, yes, one, I don't eat. Two, I just don't get hungry, which oftentimes I don't. But like, I think a big part of that is my appetite as well, which just suffers. I just have no appetite. And even when I have one, it's not what I think it is. You know what I'm saying? So it just gets rough. And speaking of just not getting hungry, I get hungry. Not like I want to eat, but like I get hungry. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, I don't know if a lot of you guys relate, but it's like if you don't shower for like 2 days, right? 2-3 days, something like that, right? You get stinky. You probably don't like stink like crazy, but you get stinky, right? Especially if you go do things and you work out or you sweat or whatever the case may be. Like you stink. Do you necessarily want to take a shower? Yeah, right? Do you have any desire to like just take the action, especially when you're depressed or you're down or you really don't want to do nothing? You really ain't got nothing going on? Not so much, right? But you should take one. That's the healthy thing to do. That's the clean thing to do. But you just don't, just because it's like, I don't have to right now. I could go tonight and just shower in the morning, right? Or I'll push it off, or whatever the case may be. That's kind of the same thing when it comes to me eating. It's like, I know I should eat. I mean, like, I know that, like, I'm taught that, especially being a personal trainer and studying fitness for so long and going into becoming a physical therapist. Like, I know I should eat. I know the importance of a healthy breakfast. And I know my body wants to eat. I know my body gets hungry. You know what I'm saying? Like it like your body will stink if you don't shower. Your body will be hungry. I just don't have that appetite or that desire to eat. And even when I do, it's not as much. It's like you can sit there and say, you know what? I haven't showered in 3 days. I'm gonna take a nice shower, nice hot steamy shower. Just let the water run all over me, lather my body up like 2-3 times. And then I'm gonna sit down and, just soak in the tub and soak in like Epsom salt and bubbles and all these things. And then you get to it, you get in, you put some stuff on your hair and your body and you get out. Like that's what ends up happening. Like a lot of times I sit there and I try and fantasize and I hype myself up to eat, even just an apple or a banana, and that becomes exhausting. I'll be honest. Just like sit there and try and really focus on eating, that becomes exhausting. But like I said, I'll probably talk about that more in a vlog, because sometimes I'd be struggling with that, and I'd much rather talk about that at an emotionally vulnerable situation, because that's what the vlog is for. But besides that, next week I have some training for the social media platform. They just actually called me like right before I started filming, or before I started episoding this recording. They just called me to offer me a spot in their training. And so I'm going to go through a lot of that stuff. Also, please forgive me. I was outside earlier today for a little bit and I got really cold. So you might hear me sniffling. This microphone is too good. I can even hear me breathing in. But so I'm excited for that training just because like I'll be able to better give you guys that social media platform to be able to just go to and utilize and connect with people and causes and all that kind of things. There are going to be new blog posts for Mad Pride Week for next year. Currently, right now, I just posted a posting kind of describing one of the events, that event being the spotlight of the day. And I just talked about why I want to plan it in, what its purpose is, those kind of things. Really short little read. Make sure you go to the website, find that blog. You can find it pretty easily. And just if you have any ideas about that topic or that event, just put them in the comments underneath. I would love to get more feedback. By the time you guys hear this, I expect to have a lot more posts on there about the events, about the drafted events at least. So I would love to get you guys' feedback so we can like finalize a good like event schedule for that Pride Week. But moving on along, I don't have a song, and like I said, I don't have a quote, but I guess quote of the week is tomorrow doesn't exist, or of the day, tomorrow doesn't exist. But last night I watched Cruella on Disney Plus. Let me tell you, if you have not seen it, spoiler alert. Look, spoiler alert, okay? But it was a good movie. I was getting my life from minute 0 to like 7.5. And then like at minute 8, like Corella's mom died. And like she killed her. And I was like, Disney, what? Like, look, that was rough, okay? But every second after that, I loved that movie. And there's a few things I want to talk about within that movie that I really want to bring to life, because it kind of is like how this season is going to go with the Human Library, with the video podcast. Like, we'll have the guests, we have the books with their story. And what Cruella did, she told her story in the movie. And so it was just like I got the chance to read Corella's story from her point of view, you know, not from some Disney writer's point of view, even though literally it was a Disney writer. But you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Okay, cool. But I really want to talk about some of the topics and whatnot that I saw and that was portrayed in there, because I think a lot of that we can all relate to in many different ways, especially when it comes to just our health and our mental health, for instance. So one of the things that she talked about, she listed, you know, after, so later on in the movie, at the end of the movie, she found out that her boss, like the Baroness, like that she worked for, she was this fashion design, like head of this company or whatever. Literally, when I say this Baroness is like the queen of all queens, she is the queen of all queens. You have never met somebody just more just blunt, blatant, emotionless, expressionless, but still like a fierce, fashionable. Look, I was living my little gay boy life vicariously through her. That entire she stole the movie from Cruella. Like, now Cruella, she got with it, but whatever. So anyway, once Cruella found out that the Baroness was her actual birth mother and that her actual mom, her adopted mother, was her adopted mother, she talked about grief, which you would assume that she would have talked about grief, excuse me, when her mom actually died. But she didn't then, which she was a child, right? And at that point in time, as a child, you don't know much about, grieving and whatnot. You just know you've lost someone, and she did what she needed to do to, get past it. But she didn't talk about the 5 stages of grief until she realized that her, like the real situation about her mom's, which I thought was really neat because, like, with a lot of times people relate, grieve a lot, like the stages of loss, all those things, all the stages of grief, all those things, to actually like someone dying. You know what I'm saying? But that's not always the case, right? That's not always the case, and that's why that was perfect for her to put it there, because she had already lost her adopted mother. She lost her years prior, decades prior. But it was when she lost the idea of who her mom was, that right there was that was a loss. Even ideas can cause you to go through, the 5 stages. I believe it's 5 stages. I'm saying 5. Whatever. But even a loss, even an idea, it's like if you have a goal, for instance, which I've had many goals. I've had many of those. I am just that kind of person. But you have a goal and something happens where you cannot do it, or something. Okay, for instance, a few years ago, it was right after I started as a drill instructor. It was something I really wanted to do for a while. And granted, I didn't want to do it in the place that I got, but whatever. But I was excited to, be able to make a mark and make a difference and all those kind of things. And mid-cycle, my very first cycle, so about a month and a half into my very first time training recruits, I jacked my leg up really bad. Well, actually, it was like a few weeks in, but it got so bad to where I couldn't run or walk about a month and a half in, which was horrible. But at that point in time, it wasn't too bad. I was like, I'm just going to go to physical therapy. I'll get better. I'll be back by next cycle. Next cycle rolled around, like 6 days in, I completely snapped my leg. Was not ready to go back to work. Completely snapped it, done. And I was looking at getting, medically separated from the Marine Corps at that point in time, because this had happened 2 times. And that was when I started the whole denial, like, this isn't happening. Like, I can work, I can do this, I can just, just let me, like, just let my leg rest for a few days, like those whole things. But I didn't lose anyone. It was just my goal, the things I wanted, my aspirations were lost because I broke my leg and I was useless and purposeless is what it felt like, and so I started those 5 stages of grief for my loss of my goal. And so in the movie, I thought that was perfect how she decided to talk, and she didn't talk about, it wasn't necessarily about losing her mom as her real mother. It was just who she lost her mom to. You know what I'm saying? And that caused even more. And even better, she was like, you know what? I'm skipping all the rest of the grief options. I'm going straight to anger, which I think is commendable in a way, right? Because instead of, so a person like me, which we're going to talk about it later, a person like me, I thrive off of control. You know what I'm saying? And so when things are out of my control, it's rough for me. It causes me anxiety, all those things. So it's kind of commendable that she was like, you know what? Right now, I'm pushing off all the other stages of grief. Right now, I'm angry, and she took control of that. So I was also inspired by her ability to take control and say, you know what? I'll deal with these emotions later. But right now, I'm angry. Very, very angry. You know what I'm saying? And so I really enjoyed that. Like A+ writers, that was good. So speaking of, her mom, so she later on, she was talking to her mom after she got her revenge, and she was just talking about how like, hold on, excuse me. Okay, and she was just talking about how like, yeah, she was my lying adopted mother, but she did it, to protect me because she didn't want me to become, my actual mom. But my actual mom is psychotic, and she didn't want me to become psychotic, but it would have been nice to know. And so it posed a question in my head, and it poses, like, I wanted to pose it to you guys. And obviously, it's not, I don't want to say it's a redundant question, but there's no right answer, whatever that type of question is, right? But is it okay? Like, and this, I guess this is a parenting thing, right? But is it okay to lie, to protect? I mean, that's something that humans basically do, is protect. Like, that's a huge part of why we have offspring and whatnot, is to protect them. So is it okay to lie? And if the answer is, at times, which I guess the answer would be that, depending on the situation, if that's the answer, are we willing to deal with the potential consequences of that lie? And how long will you hold the lie? Will you take it to your grave like her mom did? I mean, her mom didn't expect. I mean, and you could be sure that her mother, her adopted mother, would have told her eventually, but she was a child, But still, she took that to her grave, and that's rough. You know what I'm saying? That's where things get hard, because it's like, I did this to protect you, but while trying to protect you, I didn't give you an opportunity to know who you are potentially. You know what I'm saying? And so that's why it just brings up that question. So I really want to bring that up, because even as children or young adults or teenagers, when you've been lied to for your own protection, which is in a way necessary, right? It can cause things like Corella was going through, because at that point, growing up, she was having a major identity crisis, and she was always promising to her mom she was going to be a better person, which she wasn't bad. She was just, I don't want to say misunderstood. She was just not who everyone else was, and which is, I think that's great. And that's what makes each and every person special, not being like everyone else. But when you're looking for answers of why you're so far left or so far right from everybody else, it could be hard. And that's where it comes into play. Like, I understand as her mom, why she's like this. But do you tell her? Do you subject her to, living out the story of her mother? It was rough. It was just a question I want to pose. Just speaking of that, like just being an outcast though, like how she was, and growing up, I've experienced that a lot, especially because like I was a bit more feminine growing up, and I did more feminine things. I got made fun of for it, called all the words in the book. And I'm sure many of y'all out there have felt like an outcast at many times, even if you're in the in crowd, because there was a point where everybody loved me and whatnot, but I still felt like an outcast. Even granted, at that school, it was like 5 black people in the school of like 400 white people and Hispanics, and so it's easy to feel like the outcast. But I still felt like the outcast, and there's nothing wrong with that. But what it does to your mental health when everybody else is reacting to you being an outcast, you being far away from everybody else, and the standards of what it is to look and dress, all those different things, that stuff gets rough because it plays on you. Because once again, as you grow up, you start to look for that identity. You start to look for validation that you're doing these things the right way, or you begin to kind of, what I've done is magnetize towards people who don't necessarily appreciate the weird things, and I have great friends. I've always had great friends. Yeah. I can name you like 1 or 2 great friends from like each moment of my life. But besides that, you end up gravitating towards people who don't appreciate your weirdness or your outcastness or your far whateverness. You know what I'm saying? And so you start to gravitate to people who don't appreciate it because they are going to validate that you're weird. And we get used to that. But I saw that and I connected with that again. But last few things, I noticed with her that the same thing with me. When things are good, they're great, right? So she was living a rough life. After she found the two guys, she grew up. Things were rough. I mean, she was cleaning toilets in a fashion store down by where she lived. Nice fashion store, but she had bigger goals, bigger dreams. Obviously, story, plot, plot, plot. She ends up working for the Baroness, her real mother, and everything was just great. I mean, absolutely phenomenal. I mean, she was just reeling and just she loved it. You know what I'm saying? And that was great. And it was just like one day she was absolutely horrible. The next day, absolutely amazing. She finds out that her mom or the Baroness had her mother's necklace, and it went immediately down. Not depression, but to resentment. You know what I'm saying? And it was like she was absolutely in love with the Baroness. And it's one thing if emotion reactivity is a real thing. And I loved how they played it in the episode. And I'm not saying with all these things that like Cruella has a mental illness, which, I mean, it's Cruella DeVille. What do you expect? But again, because mental health is not just an illness or a diagnosis. I always want to make sure I am enunciating that, saying that enough, because I'm just analyzing these and talking about how these relate to mental health. She had on a button that said, "Be weird." I loved it. Expect some merch. Expect something so that way you can be pride. You can be pride and wear "Be weird." Unwired. Oh, I like that too. Be unwired. Be weird. Ooh, okay. But I loved it. And then there was art. No, actually, I think it was Art that was wearing it. Whoever. But Art, this dude, he was amazing. And he said, I live to make weird normal. And that was just perfect. I love that statement. And it's just something that I think a lot of us need to accept. And that's one reason why I really want to have Mad Pride Week, is because we need to make it normal. We need to make being weird normal. It's just so much better for the future generations if they can feel okay with being whoever, however, wherever, whenever they are. Because a lot of these kids, they're in different generations. My brother, stop phone. My brother, who's 21. Yesterday or the day before, he goes, "I remember a time when," excuse you? I don't even remember a time when. I have no memory. What do you mean you remember a time when? What? Okay. But so that's why we'll let these future generations live whenever they want, because apparently they're boomers and Gen Zers at the same time, and whatever, millennials and all this stuff. That whole thing. But really quickly, I just want to talk about something that I talked to one of my friends about yesterday while watching Cruella, because it was amazing. But he was just talking about how he loves evil villains, and he's a gay man just like me. And he was talking about how he loves evil villains, and he loves learning about their backgrounds and how they became evil and all that stuff. So that's one really reason why he really liked Cruella. I decided to talk to him about something I found out probably within the last year or two in my research about some LGBT history, LGBTQ plus I plus plus plus. Okay, history. So a lot of people don't know this, but evil villains, the traditional and the older evil villains, were modeled after homosexuals and lesbians. Which, I mean, they are homosexuals. But look, homosexual men, homosexual women, lesbians, gay men. There we go. Got it. So that's what they were designed after. right? And that's why you get these very androgynous figures of evil villains, right? You get these women with very deep voices and oftentimes shorter cut hair. And then you get them with this masculinity feature of them of being very strong, right? A lot of villains are very strong, whether it's mentally or actually with, brute strength. A lot of them just are. You get a lot of the female villains with that very chiseled jaw. And back in the day, evil villains, especially women, were portrayed as, for instance, for lack of better words, as lesbians, because nobody wants to be a lesbian. And back in those times, especially in the 40s, and even back in the 30s, I think that was like one of the earliest Disney princesses, Snow White, maybe. I'm not too well versed on the the time. There we go. Look, I didn't have the greatest education in the world. Okay, and I've been out of school for a long time. I'm trying to remember these words. It's not the greatest. Trying to remember the whole Disney Channel Princess Cinematic Universe. I don't got the dates and years down, but back then that was the point. That's why with a lot of evil men or a lot of like the princes who were like the antagonists, like the prince antagonist, because in a lot of those princess movies, they would fall in love with a prince. The princess would fall in love with a prince, and there would be typically another prince in the story who's the antagonist, and that prince typically would be much more feminine. Like a lot of there's not many evil male villains, but like the evil male villains, they would be much more feminine characters and softer, and they're over the top. Think of Jafar from Aladdin, over the top and campy. All evil villains are campy because what are, homosexuals? We're very campy, just over the top and emotions. And you could see him let a little teardrop when he wants, you know what I'm saying? And so that's how evil villains were designed and modeled after, because that was against the norm. And in these movies, we want these beautiful stories that are told with no drama, with no extra anything, but the only people or types of people that bring drama and complications and weirdness into life, whether it's real life or these movies, in their mindset were these, radical homosexuals. And so that's where the evil villain came from. And that's what they were designed from way back when. And Disney they hopped on that. That's really how like our now modern days villains are designed. Even that's just how they are. Whether they're brand new villains from a brand new production studio or a brand new idea, whatever the case may be, they're modeled after, the older villains, which the older villains are modeled after us. So in all actuality, it might sound like Disney is homophobic, but they kind of love us. In a way, but I'm kidding, obviously, because that's just the same thing as the whole black culture appropriation and all that kind of stuff, blackfishing and whatnot. It's very similar to that situation. But I think I talked enough about Cruella. I fangirled over Cruella last night. Got my life screaming. Almost lost my voice. It was a great movie. So good job, Disney. That was an amazing movie. So, bam, just like that, it's time for the main topic of codependence. I want to tell you, you're probably going to feel like like you've been doing everything in your life wrong, okay? But what I want to tell you is these are my experiences. These are things that I have been trying to work on, the things. I'm not giving you the full list of what codependence looks like or any of those kind of things. So there are things that are like, there are codependent patterns I'm not going to talk about. I would invite you to go and find more patterns and learn more about it. But what I do not want you to do, because you'll probably do it because I tried. When I learned about codependence, I tried my hardest to be the opposite of codependent. which is only another form of codependence. Like you'll see when I talk about this, like codependence is such a large, massive just thing where you could be on the left side of it, right? You can be like a submissive kind of person who, gives things up for everybody else, who's very passive, and, they'll bend to the will of others. Like you can be very far to the left. You can be very far right and be a very dominant, take things, accusatory, aggressive kind of person. And then you can be anything in between. And it's not static. It's not, this is just you all your life. It can change and over time develop into something on both sides. Or it could be in a relationship, you're very far left, like serving, willing. But in your friendships, you're very aggressive and very petty and very sarcastic. But like with your family, you're extremely narcissistic and you've done things and you want to show up. It could be all these different types of things. And that's what's so difficult about codependence. So that's why I want to say, before you go and you try and change some of your codependent habits, if you do have some, I want to let you know, talk to a therapist, talk to someone who's like well-versed in it and can help guide you, because it could destroy you a lot, especially if you have good relationships going on. I don't want you to ruin relationships. Listen to me like, oh, I need to get better at that. I don't want that, because you probably already have good things set. And if you're satisfied with them, yeah, I would definitely talk to a therapist and even talk to, whoever these relationships are with, friends, family, loved ones, those kind of things, and kind of get their feedback, see where their stance is. And if you need to adjust, okay, yeah, sure, go ahead. But I don't want you trying to change your life like what I did, because that's what I tried to do. And I was in a relationship at the time, which is really where I'm most codependent. I'm not really that codependent with my family and friends, mostly in my romantic relationships. So I learned about codependency back in March. I think that's when we started talking about it. I got to sneeze. I think that's when we started talking about it. I didn't sneeze. But I learned a lot from them, like a lot. And they gave us a lot of different resources to work on and remember it. So like I kept those resources so I can go back to them, especially for once I'm in a relationship. I can work on them and, look like evaluate myself. Like, am I really truly doing this? And so that's what I want to go through today. I'm just going to kind of talk about some of the things I used to do. I want to talk about what kind of what codependence is. I'll look up a definition on Google here and kind of give Google's definition. And then I also want to talk about what it like, what it does look like, and some of the kind of ways I am trying to get better or recover from them. There's a lot of recovery statements that I've seen on the internet as well. On the internet as well, that has helped me out. So I'll try and give a few of those to you guys. All right. So the term codependency is often used casually to describe relationships where a person is needy or dependent upon another person. But there is much more to this term than everyday clinginess. In its simplest terms, a codependent relationship is when one partner needs the other partner, turn needs to be. In sociology, codependency. Oh, nobody told you to move. That's talking about codependent relationships. All right, so it is important to know the difference between depending on another person, which can be a positive and desirable trait, and codependency, which is harmful. So some of these are some examples that illustrate dependent, right? That's two people who rely on each other for love and support. Both find value in a relationship. In codependent, the codependent person feels worthless unless they are needed by and making drastic sacrifices for the enabler. The enabler gets satisfaction from getting their everyday needs met by said other person. The codependent is only happy with an extreme sex partner, and they feel they must be needed by this other person to have any purpose. So that's kind of just like an example. Again, like it's just really hard to describe the definition of codependence because of just how large of a topic and situation it is. So what I really want to get into, like I said, is just talking about what it looked like with me. But there's a few different patterns that I've learned I have that my codependence fits into, okay? So that is denial, low self-esteem, compliance, control, and avoidance. And like I said, I learned these from going to group therapy earlier this year. And those 5 were where I found traits in. Well, actually, it was just the first 4. But like I said, there was more patterns. But I have added avoidance because over like the last few months, I've learned with me trying to not be codependent, I have learned to start doing a lot more avoidance patterns. So I want to add that pattern to the list of things. Okay, so really quickly, I'm just gonna kind of go through some of the things that I would do and some of like the recovery statements for some that I was able to find, and kind of give an example for some of them. I'm not gonna go through all of them because look, I'm a very codependent person. Very. But so some of the denial patterns that I've shown, I often have had difficulty identifying what I'm feeling. Obviously, you guys have listened to me for about 6 months now, and so you know I'm very articulate with my emotions and my feelings. I am now. I used to suck at that, but actually, I have a really good like statement for that on how to work on that. So one thing I found is I am aware of my feelings and identify them often in the moment. I know the difference between my thoughts and my feelings. So I used to consistently feel like my feelings and my thoughts were synonymous, that I could not control either. A lot of times I would say that my thoughts or my feelings invoke my thoughts, and that I only think this way because of how I feel, which isn't necessarily true all the time. I can control my thoughts. I'm able to let myself either ruminate on thoughts or not. I can control my thoughts. My feelings are my feelings. I can't control my feelings. They're not, I just can't just say, screw my feelings. I mean, I kind of can in a way, but just not nearly as easy as my thoughts. But so I used to act based off of my thoughts a lot instead of identifying my feelings, separating those and working with those. Another thing I do is I minimize how I feel. I used to minimize how I feel often. I think embracing the feelings that you have is extremely important, because we all are subject to having any kind of emotional reaction to any situation. And I tell people all the time, there's no real such thing as overreacting. Like, there's no real such thing. You are reacting emotionally in the best way that you know how for that moment, with as clear or unclear of a head as you have. And you are subject to feel however you feel. Okay? Emotions themselves are valid. Your feelings itself is valid. Your thoughts, you can control those, because again, if you base your thoughts based off of how you feel, you're gonna hurt a lot of people. You're gonna hurt yourself a lot. But those feelings are definitely valid. Everyone's feelings are valid. That's something that a lot of us need to remember too. Another thing I used to do, oh my God, especially in my relationship. So I would try and perceive myself to others as being like radically loving, completely unselfish, and just loving unconditionally, right? So that way it could benefit, the other person in our relationship and that kind of thing, which, that was not necessarily true. Like the reason for the benefit. What I got from it is what made me very codependent, because in my relationship with my ex earlier this year, I always just like, I'm here for you regardless, no matter what. So much that even when I thought he was cheating on me, which I made this up in my head, I was just like, you know what? There's signs, there's things going on. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty positive he's cheating on me. Let me just ask him and give him the benefit of the doubt and give him like a chance to be like, hey, like, yeah, this has happened. I've been unfaithful. And I would been like, okay, cool. Look, if that's what you want, if that's what you need, I'm all right. Like with that, like we can work on that, this and this. And me doing that literally is a definition of codependence. And I wasn't doing it because I was like, I need you. You know what I'm saying? I was doing that to try and portray that I'm here for you regardless, to benefit you and our relationship, which was not true at all. That only benefited me. Those kinds of actions only benefited me. Why? Because it showed that if you stay with me, I'm worthy. That's what it is. If I do this and you accept it, you'll stay with me. And now I'm worthy of somebody of marriage material, or I'm a good person, and you show that you actually truly love me and you trust me, you're there for me, and that you'll get those. That's why I was doing those kinds of things, because I'm giving you everything, but I'm only giving you these things because this is what I need. And it benefits me to do this. It benefits me to say, hey, you know what? I'll do this because I'm loyal. And it makes me feel good to know that I'm loyal. You know what I'm saying? Because I need to feel worthy, and I need to feel like somebody got my back. If not, somebody else, me. And if I can have my back by basically making you think that we're good, then I got my back. I used to do that a lot, and that would build up a lot of resentment, because I really self-resentment, because I really started to hate myself for it and within our relationship, because there would be like one time where we would get into an argument, or not necessarily like a fight, but just like a disagreement or whatever. And I was learning at that time how to be assertive. And so I was very conflicted, because it's like, do I be assertive, or do I tell him like, you know what, it's okay, I got you, I'm here for my benefit, So I was struggling with a lot of things. I'm doing much better at that now. I think one of the biggest things for me to get out of that was to think about my intentions and think about who I am, whether I feel worthy or not. That's not the point, but to think about who I am, what I stand for, what my values are. But the biggest thing is really those intentions, because if I can think about those intentions and then remember those intentions when I am feeling, codependent, or not necessarily codependent, when I am feeling, needy or unworthy or whatever the case may be, I can think about what is it that I stand for? This, all right, let me move forward. So that was one of the ways I kind of got over that. One of the last few things that it kind of just in my denial patterns is that I used to mask my pain in many different ways. Okay, I still do to this day. It's something I am not actively working on, but it's something that eventually I'm going to work on. But I think while working on a lot of other things, I've gotten better at this. But like I said, masking your pain. I talked about it in the last episode. People wear masks all the time, especially when you wear masks. All you see is that people are also wearing masks everywhere you go. That's all we do. And so I will mask my pain in isolation. Not necessarily humor, not necessarily like anger or sadness or even depression. I would mask my pain in isolation. That's how I would do it. Fortunately enough, I do have another statement, because that was, like I said, is a bit more difficult to just actively work on. But I did find like one of those recovery statements for it, and it is, I am aware of my painful feelings and I express them appropriately. I think that is an extremely important statement, especially the express them appropriately, because express your feelings. I forget to do that so often. I still do it. I mean, my friends know it's called my cocoon. I have a cocoon. I think I might have talked to you guys about my cocoon before. You know, I go into this cocoon when I'm feeling any kind of pain. I'm in a lot of pain sometimes, and the best thing I can do is to go into a cocoon, even if it's just for me. But regardless, that is not healthy when I'm in a relationship romantically or with friends, because I go into a cocoon from my friends, because a lot of times I'm in pain. I don't want my friends to see that, or my family. So I just go into isolation. I don't call anybody. I'm not talk to anybody. So those are some of the kind of denial patterns. The low self-esteem, look, I'm still working on that. Okay, that I'm gonna have to work on that heavily. So I'm gonna breeze by these low self-esteem ones, because I don't have a good enough path to tell you, because I'm working on them. So I have had a lot of difficulties making decisions and making effective decisions, and more importantly, trusting that the decisions I'm making are good, and that's hard. It's hard for me, because I've made such bad decisions, or I've made a decision that turned out to be bad. Like, for instance, I talked about it, I think, a few episodes ago. I was horrible one night. I was in a lot of pain mentally and emotionally. And instead of, doing what I would regularly do to self-harm, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go to sleep. And I know it's rough for me to sleep, so I'm just going to go and take some of my sleeping pills so I can just go to sleep, and this all be over, and I'll wake up tomorrow and I'll be good. That turned out to bite me in the butt. As we talked about, I accidentally overdosed. And so it becomes hard for me to trust that the decision I'm making is the right one, or is an effective one, and that's going to help. And that in turn goes into a relationship, because I might make the decision to be assertive today and to say, and not be so aggressive, because even sometimes I can be aggressive, right? We can be aggressive or passive or anything in between. But if I'm normally aggressive and today I'm like, you know what, I'm going to try and do this right and assertively, I might get taken advantage of, because I might not seem as serious. You know what I'm saying? And if I get taken advantage of and that's the outcome, the next time it's time for me to make a decision on whether I'm going to approach this person that I care about in an aggressive, passive, or assertive manner, I promise you I'm not going to be able to want to do it in an assertive manner, because I got taken advantage of the last time. But is that the right decision? Like, to not give them another chance? But is that the right decision to give them another? You know what I'm saying? So a lot of times that's where we also start looking to that other person for decision making. That's where we start needing them to make the decisions for us, which turns to another point of codependency. A lot of times we judge what other people or what our partners think, says, or do as extremely harsh or never good enough. And that I'm still working towards. You guys hear me say it all the time. Like, I don't feel very worthy of lots of things, and I don't feel good enough for lots of things. But in a relationship, that is horrible, because if I don't for instance, in one of my relationships from a few years ago, I was with this guy where I was on the opposite side of the codependency. So I was always just harshly judging everything that they say and do, and making them never feel good enough. And I should have accepted him, you know what I'm saying? And in turn, with him being on the opposite side of that codependence, he didn't accept who he was in our relationship. And he was always trying to change and work on things and try and be perfect. But I want to emphasize that it's not about perfection, right? It's about progress. And when things aren't great, or when things need to get better, it's not about perfection. No, if I come to him and I say, I don't like this, I should not expect him to be perfect, and he should not expect for himself to be perfect for me. That's two codependent people right there. Low self-esteem when it comes to my embarrassment. I am still embarrassed to receive gifts, praise, and recognition. I not just embarrassed, it's just hard for me. And that's still something I'm working on. I've been working on that for years. I remember a few years ago, my friends wanted to give me Christmas presents, and that was a very rough, anxious time for me. But I remember the counselor I was seeing at that point in time, she gave me a statement to continue saying over and over. And I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget it. But she said, it is okay to feel appropriately worthy of the recognition and praise and gifts that I receive. And I had to tell myself that over and over. Do I believe it? No, but I kept telling myself that so much that when I did get the gifts, I was able to feel appropriately worthy of this gift. You know what I'm saying? Next thing that I do often still, I don't perceive myself as lovable or worthwhile. Again, I already talked about this in denial. It's hard. It's hard because of how messed up and screwed up I feel I am. You know, everybody has their own problems, right? I got 99 problems, and the last problem I have is me. Like that's really what it is. And because I have all these problems, and I know that I'm an issue myself, and I know I'm a work, and I know all these different things, like it's hard for me just to feel that I am lovable and that I'm worthy of, you know, a good relationship of something. And so because of that, it's ruining kind of my present day potential, you know, partners or romantic partners, even friendships. It's hard for me to nurture my friendships when they kind of go a little sour because I don't feel lovable already anyway. And that is still going on. Like it's still that those kind of things still hurt me and still hurt the people I care about. Just because if you love somebody, you you're like you show them that you love them daily or whatever. Like it's hard to continue to let somebody just feel unloved when you love them so much. And in a relationship, that can become extremely exhausting. And I could only imagine, like earlier this year, the guy I was with, when I started to feel just very unworthy, how much of a weight it was on his shoulders to try and make up for that love, you know? And that's why currently today, like I still tell people like, look, until I can love myself and feel lovable and worthy, you cannot do it. And I know you want to. I know you want to be there. I know you want to, all those things. I know. But if I don't feel lovable, it does not matter how much love you give me. I'm not going to be able to accept it if I don't feel that. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of times it's hard for us to feel valuable, especially knowing all the different things we have going on. A few other things. I was unable to identify or ask for what I needed and wanted, especially when it came to sex, because I use sex very differently than most people. My addiction, i.e. my addiction, very emotionally charged is sex for me. And so it was really hard for me to do those kinds of things. Looking to others to provide a sense of safety for me, especially once again when it came to sex. I have very low self-esteem, codependence patterns, and a lot of them deal with sex. Having trouble setting healthy priorities and boundaries when it comes to sex, I dealt with that. That was a bad one too, because I would feel like if somebody else, if my partner, especially earlier this year, when I would tell him like, look, I know we're in a bad place, we can just reset me and my emotions and all this stuff by just having sex. And that was a boundary for him that he was not willing to even touch. No, if we're not good, I'm not going to have sex with you just so that way we can be better. That's not healthy. But that was hard for me to understand. I understood it, but it was hard for me to feel, you know, and to understand that part, that boundary. So moving on over into compliance patterns. So these are kind of things like loyalty and being there for people and not being looked at as, you know, kind of, again, I guess in a way, look, these all kind of tie to each other. Compliance. Okay. So codependents are often extremely loyal and remaining in harmful situations for a very long time. And this is where you see a lot of people who are going through like a lot of abuse, right? Whether it's physical or verbal. I will put myself in that situation just so I can, again, receive, that loyalty feeling that I am a good person. You know what I'm saying? And so I do, fortunate enough, have a recovery statement because I really thought that was important. So I really want to look that up because I think a lot of people are going through a much stronger situation of that than I am. But I am committed to my safety and leave situations that feel unsafe or are inconsistent with my goals. I think it is an extremely important covenant for you to commit to your own safety. Like, I just think that's important. I think that'll allow you to develop and become much less codependent when you can do that with yourself. A lot of times I'll compromise my own values and my own integrity. Well, not so much my integrity to avoid rejection because I need to be validated so much. I'll do what it takes to receive that validation that I'm okay, that I'm worthy, that I can be happy, that our friendship will last the test of time, that, those kinds of things, you know what I'm saying? A lot of times I'll put aside my own interests in order to do what other people want, just so that way I can keep them in my life, just so that way I can, once again, that cycle of get things back from me of loyalty and worthiness, those kinds of things. A lot of these tie into each other. A big one, accept sexual attention when they need love. That's me. 100%. Whether that's in a relationship or not in a relationship, right? Now, I was like, I've never cheated on anybody in a relationship. If I need love, if I need to feel a little bit more love, I'm coming to you for sex. That's how it is. And I don't know how to really ask for love either. But just understand that if I feel a little lonely, hey boo, what you doing? Take them pants off, right? Like that's me. And that's, again, a boundary for a lot of people that a lot of people are not willing to, or not a boundary. That's a codependence pattern that a lot of people are not willing to stroke because that isn't healthy. And people don't want to just be there to be your sex toy for when you need love. Like, no, it's there for pleasure and for connecting and all those things. Not because you need love or you want a certain different type of, no. But my sexuality is grounded in genuine intimacy and connection. When I need to feel loved, I express my heart's desires. I do not settle for sex without love. And that last statement is where I am, why I'm in Sex Addicts Anonymous right now. Because I do settle oftentimes for sex. I do settle for sex without love. A lot. And it's rough. That is rough. But moving on over to control patterns. So when it comes to control patterns, these come to like both like sides of the spectrum, like the left and the right, needing control and needing to release control or being controlled, right? So people are oftentimes are incapable of just taking care of themselves. They need somebody else to manage their life for them. And that was me in my last relationship. Even when it came to my career goals, and those kinds of things, it was like, I need you to explain to me what my options are. And then I need you to tell me what I'm going to do. Because you know more, you think more about it. And I can't make my own decisions for myself because I don't want to make the wrong decision and upset somebody or ruin my reputation or your reputation, those kinds of things, right? Again, cycle. Oftentimes attempting to convince other people what to think, do, or feel as well. So that's that opposite side.
in one of my previous relationships, whenever I was not feeling well, or we were kind of going through it, I would oftentimes expect him to feel a certain way when he doesn't have to. He's completely, he owns all his feelings and he can manage them however he wants to, and I would oftentimes try and convince him that he should feel this way because I feel this way. But it took me a long time to just kind of accept that other people are just as valid in their emotions as me, Like, it took me a very long time to get down. My emotions are valid. But the other thing that I need to learn is, yes, my emotions are valid, but so is everyone else's. And so a lot of times in that relationship, before I learned that, I would forget that other people's, thoughts and choices and feelings are for the most part just as valid, even if I'm not comfortable with them. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, if you asked me if I was okay this morning when I was making breakfast and I said, yeah, sure, I am, of course. And then we go the whole day, I haven't really said nothing to you, and then it's nighttime, and then you just fell asleep and we're in the bed, and I'm like, so you're really not going to ask me if everything, like, you really don't feel that connect, like, so you're good. Like, those kinds of things, right? And then I would be upset that he doesn't feel some type of way or that, and I would push off his emotions after he then tries to talk and push off his choices and his thoughts and all those kind of things, because I was just like, no, you should feel this way. Like, and if you don't feel this way, you don't love me. Codependence. Oh, Lord. Becoming resentful when others decline my help or reject my advice. That's another big one that I oftentimes do, because not all the time do people need your advice, but especially when you want to show them that you're worthy of things, you're trying. I tried. There were so many times in my relationships and even in friendships where I tried to be there 100%, and I might have completely stepped out of line and just got shut down, right? And it caused so much resentment against that person, because it's like, I'm trying to show you that I love you and I'm here for you. Like, this is something that I need, right? Again, goes back to that. This is something I need to show you that I'm here. This is something I need, right? And so I'm trying to give you this advice and all this stuff for me. And then I get upset at them, right? Using blame and shame to exploit other people emotionally. That's also another thing. Look, codependency is just a huge thing. And like I said, there's so many more patterns than just these. Really quickly, like the last one, and avoidance, that I've really learned is pulling people towards me, but when they get close, I push them away. That has happened a good 3 times in the last 8-9 months. Because I'll go out knowing that I just need a little bit of companionship and love and somebody just to hang out with and talk to, and then I pull them in. And I'm a very charming guy, I'm a very charming guy. People like me, I guess. And so when they are in, they're close. And I don't need you to be that close. I need to be able to isolate when I want to isolate. I need to be able to not talk to anybody for like a few days and you not feel, or no, not you not feel, and I not feel like you might have any specific feelings about this. I need the area to not screw you up before I do. Like those kinds of things. And that is something that I really need to work on. That's something I want to work on currently. That's something I'm trying to work on. You know what I'm saying? Like, just trying to work on welcoming close relationships and maintaining good boundaries is hard. I am much more assertive at giving my boundaries and understanding them and trying not to break them, I'm pretty good with it. But once they're in, I need them out. And it's ridiculous because I have ruined probably such great relationships with people. And there was this guy I was telling a few weeks ago, and I kind of explained this to him that like right now, and I got this from my financial therapist. I kind of explained to her the situation, and she told me like, I understand. You want to be the best you can be for you, yes. But when it comes to you being in a relationship with, this guy, this great person, like, you know that they're going to give you 100% of them, the best of them that they can. You just want to return that favor. And you want to be able to accept what they're going to give you. And you know right now that you can't. And you don't want to give them something that they don't deserve. And I could not agree with that more. And that is really, I think that's a huge part of this, because I'll pull them in. I think I realize how great they are, or how broken I am, or how not ready. And it's like, let's just stay over there. Just right there. No, don't take that step forward. Right there. So it gets rough. It gets hard. And like I said, I've ruined some really good relationships in the process that I know could have been really good, whether they were romantic or platonic. I know I have, but that's all I have on codependency right now. That's a lot of stuff. Like, codependency is a lot. It's a lot. Okay. But for now, guys, that is all I have for you guys. I want to give a huge thanks to everybody who's made it to the end of this episode. And even a more special thanks to those of you who end up liking and commenting, subscribing, and following our beautiful, wonderful, growing community. I want to remind you that I'm always looking for more creators. So if you're interested, please contact me on the website, which also, by the way, stop by the website, check it out. Check out that new posting for Mad Pride, comment on it. Check out some of the merch and be looking for other new content. Like I said, some of the things I talked about today might go on the mug. I like me a mug. But anyway, so guys, thanks. Stay tuned for the next episode and have a lovely day. Bye, guys.
Yeah, it was a lot. We used to live together and everything. We were like a thing. And
Jesus.
He just complete 180. It was bad. So
True.
I think it was just knowing for the first time, like, that I put everything on a person, as if that person was always going to be there, as if they could care about me more than I should, even though I don't, but I should. And that's a lot to put on a person. So I was like, why don't I put it on something that I create? So I put it on music, because I was like, if anybody betrays me, I have no one else to blame, because it's my fault.